Think forward. Think Research Channel.
I'm a shell fisherman, catching quahogs, scallops, trapping some conch.
Quahogs and scallops and conch, oysters and mussels and clams, and sometimes a horseshoe crab.
I always find the males like to hang on to the sides of the traps. It's convenient too, because it makes good bait.
Along the Atlantic, men once made a living off the shellfish of our coastal ocean.
I started commercially fishing about 78, and the fishing was good then.
A fisherman by choice, a New Englander by birth, Jack Blake, like the horseshoe crab, is a native of these waters. But the shellfish inside his crab pot are not. They are invaders, invaders from the other side of the ocean.
I had been fishing the pond for 2 years and had no idea that they were as thick as they were.
These invaders are green crabs, and they eat well in these waters.
They're a predator, and they eat the quahog seed, scallop seed. That's the critter that they say does quite a bit of damage to our ponds.
Finding so much food, these invaders made themselves at home in the oceanside ponds of New England.
And when I threw my first trap, I was curious after about 3 hours. I was curious to see, how the trap was doing, never expecting to have the thing, loaded with crabs, and I couldn't even pick it up. It was full of crabs.
I've been a pilot for over 25 years, and in the 25 years I've seen a very dramatic change in the shipping industry. The size of ships have increased dramatically. Today we have ships that carry the same amount of cargo that 2 and 3 ships used to carry when I first started in 1970.
The motor vessel Texas out of Norway, nearly 900 feet long.
Come in, Randy, from the Sir Eric Sharp.
On a good trip, it carries 3,000 containers. $33,000 tons of cargo. Maybe 20 feet long, less than 6 feet across. On a good day, it once carried up to 20 bushels of bay scallops.
Professionally, commercially, I've been fishing since 1972. One of the last few left that's out there that makes their living on the ponds.
But there aren't many good days on these saltwater ponds anymore, and the green crab is one reason.
These crabs eat scallops and quahogs and who knows what all else. Like the moon. They used to dip 20 bushel a day. Now there's just no fish anymore. I mean, I've been out here 5-6 hours to get 3 bushel. So that ain't too much. We hit that one little area that was good. 40 or 50 acres over here used to support 20 men. Quahogging and scalloping right on this little bank right here. So right after the war, we had 260 fishermen in this town, in the ponds. And right now we got 80 some odd licenses with 60 of them given out to people over 60. And I'm right in line for mine.
Where did these green crabs come from? from the Baltic Sea and the North Sea. Green crabs first arrived in the small harbors of southern New England nearly 150 years ago. How did they get here? Under sail, hanging onto the wet hulls of wooden ships or bouncing along down below in the dry ballast of rock and sand. Their first beachheads were along the south shore of Cape Cod, then south again along Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. This was the first great invasion of green crabs. And it stopped here, in the harbors, coves, and marshes south of Cape Cod, as the age of wooden ships under sail faded into history. The centuries of sail and wood were gone, but the green crabs kept coming. Early this century, a new beachhead north of Cape Cod. Then north again along Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, and Nova Scotia. How did the second invasion get started, and where would it stop?
Carl, thank you very much. And as I understand it, you were scheduled to participate on this important legislation, and we appreciate that greatly.
Thank you. 34 years ago this month, in September 1962, I began studying alien invasions in San Francisco Bay. Invasions are part of the game of ecological roulette that we play with nature, and because it is roulette, the outcome is almost always unpredictable, and we are far more often the losers.
Security, security. This is the motor vessel Texas standing by any concerned traffic, Baltimore Harbor.
Cars and VCRs and televisions from Japan. Fine china from the Netherlands, sofa beds from Sweden, fish products from Finland, eyeglasses from Italy, wine from France. Coming to American shores on a rising tide of global trade. What else is coming to America? Perhaps alien species are quietly altering American coastal ecosystems. That hypothesis, the invasion hypothesis, is coming from Jim Carlton, a pioneer in a science called invasion ecology. Carlton began sending research teams onto cargo carriers. First in San Francisco Bay, then Oregon, and now in Baltimore Harbor in Chesapeake Bay. Cargo ships could be carrying alien species. Working with Jim Carlton, scientists of the Smithsonian Institution. Are these some of the new invaders now coming to America?
Over the last 3 years, we've sampled ships coming into Baltimore and Norfolk Harbor from all over the world, primarily from Northern Europe and the Mediterranean.
At the heart of the invasion hypothesis is ballast water. Aliens could be coming here, hidden in these dark tanks. Cargo ships in foreign ports take on water for stability, for trim. Coastal water is loaded here and unloaded here in ports like Baltimore. As this ship loads coal, it releases its ballast water. Ballast water from Northern Europe or from the Mediterranean, from the Middle East, from Asia. Water from distant ecosystems pouring into American coastal waters.
We want to know the source of the water in their ballast tanks.
Are there green crabs from Europe in all this water? Are there other animals from other countries?
We're also interested in how much ballast water they normally transport back and forth, how often they come to the Chesapeake Bay area. We are basically interested in finding out how much water is coming into our region.
Research teams have boarded over 160 commercial ships and dozens of American military vessels. Scientists focus on bulk carriers, on coal ships like this. On tankers for oil and chemicals, on shippers for iron ore and grain. These vessels often arrive for loading carrying full ballast tanks. Some ships, like this coal carrier, also fill their cargo holds with extra ballast water. One oar ship can carry 32 million gallons. One oil tanker, 74 million gallons. The ballast water from the Chesapeake, from the busy ports of Baltimore and Norfolk, will be a test case for Jim Carlton's invasion hypothesis.
Oh, guys, I found another worm. Here it goes. Okay, it's in the middle. See him?
It's hard to get a good look at it. It does look kind of different.
Putting a name on each species is painstaking work. Which family of worms? Which genus? Which species? Most of the animals in ballast water are barely visible larval plankton. This is clearly a crustacean. It could be an early-stage crab. It could be a barnacle. This is clearly a crustacean, and clearly a crab. But which crab? This is a crab from another country. And this also. And these. In ballast water from Baltimore and Norfolk, clear evidence that early-stage crabs are coming here from Europe. According to Carlton, crabs, who first came here on wooden ships under sail, had found a new way of invading North America. Behind the bow, down below the container decks, down below the cargo holds, in wing tanks, in double bottom tanks, in ballast water. From Europe to the east coast of the United States, from the east coast to California.
In Central California in 1996, the newly introduced green crab now appears to be an important predator on the juveniles of one of the West Coast's most important fishery resources, the Dungeness crab.
First to San Francisco Bay, then north to Bodega, and south to Monterey Bay. The third great invasion of green crabs has begun. Green crabs are still coming to America. Accidental tourists traveling here from the old world.
Females are.
Crossing with them other animals from other countries. Zebra mussels from the Black Sea. Shore crabs from Japan. mitten crabs from China, dinoflagellates from Africa, cholera bacteria from anywhere on the globe. On all the ships at sea, 3,000 species are on the move every day, hitchhikers across the global ocean. Small plants and animals and large fish. Aliens from other seas, now swimming in American waters.
Dr. Carlton, you stated earlier that we should not introduce any non-indigenous marine life to the Chesapeake Bay.
It's important, I think, to remember that American bays and estuaries and marshes and open coasts have all been invaded by exotic species. In Chesapeake Bay, we may be poised on the brink of a new invasion. Will it be a species that devastates the soft-shell blue crab industry? Will it be a species that devastates the oyster industry? We simply cannot say.
We'll be at the bridge in about 20 minutes.
This is the motor vessel of Texas, northbound approaching the Bay Bridge, putting out a security call.
Got 1 minute to go. Port 10, steady 310.
Container cargo from 5 continents, bound for Baltimore, from 40 different ports of call.
We have about 2,500 ships called the Port of Baltimore, and 99.9% of all these ships are foreign flag ships.
And down below, millions of gallons of ballast water in just one ship. In Chesapeake Bay, the lead scientist working with Jim Carlton is Greg Ruiz of the Smithsonian Institution. With Maryland Sea Grant Extension agent Dan Terlizzi, he is searching Baltimore Harbor for evidence of invasion. But at Baltimore and Norfolk, thousands of ships unload billions of gallons of ballast water. And every year, more ships bring more ballast from more countries.
What happens once those organisms are released? What's the fate of all those organisms coming in ballast water once it's released in Norfolk or Baltimore or anywhere else in Chesapeake Bay region?
What happens next is unclear. Input does not equal invasion. Only a few alien species from another ecosystem will survive and reproduce in this ecosystem. Which aliens are surviving? To detect invaders, Ruiz created his own catch-all contraption. A collection of cups lined with sediment to catch bottom dwellers like worms and clams. A rack of shells, slates, and cinder blocks to draw biofouling species like barnacles and bryozoans and mussels.
If we were to have zebra mussels enter the Chesapeake, would a collector like this be able to pick up zebra mussel?
Depends on how densely they came in, certainly, but if they were here, this would be a good substrate for colonization.
Which aliens will find the temperature and salinity ranges comfortable, the food sources plentiful, the predators scarce? In the game of ecological roulette, it takes only one species to alter an ecosystem.
After half a century of debate and 5 years of construction, the St. Lawrence Seaway is open to ship traffic. Full dress opening ceremonies are 2 months in the future, as the first flotilla of saltwater vessels leaves Montreal, headed into the 135-mile system of canals, locks, new lakes, and power dams that will bring saltwater shipping inland nearly 2,400 miles from the sea.
After 150 years of shipping, the Great Lakes are now home to more than 140 invaders. When the shipping canals first opened, The early invaders were American. Sea lampreys and alewives came in, and lake trout disappeared. Whitefish declined. Yellow perch crashed. Blue pike went extinct. After the St. Lawrence Seaway opened, most of the invaders were foreign. The rough, the round goby, the tube-nosed goby, the zebra mussel, the Asiatic clam. One of those invaders may be heading overland for the Chesapeake. These woods surround Pretty Boy Lake, one of the key reservoirs providing drinking water for Baltimore, Maryland. Dan Terlizzi has been monitoring this lake for early signs of invasion.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if they've made an appearance in this reservoir yet.
Well, we'll find out in a little while.
Sometime in 1985 or 1986, a ship from Europe crossed the Atlantic and entered the Great Lakes system. In Lake St. Clair near Detroit, it discharged ballast water from Europe. By 1988, the first sightings for another alien. A small bivalve with a distinctive striped shell. The tiny zebra mussel had invaded America. Within 1 year, it spread throughout western Lake Erie. Within 2 years, it had invaded 4 of the Great Lakes. Zebra mussels settle along the bottom, taking over any hard surface they find. They converge on underwater rocks and colonize old shipwrecks. They outcompete native mussels and cover up native clams. And they cling to the bottoms of boats. That gave zebra mussels another way to travel, in the bilges and pipes and propellers of small boats. Within 4 years, they had spread into 18 states. Lake by lake, river system by river system, zebra mussels have been circling the Chesapeake watershed, the Finger Lakes, then 2 rivers east of Pittsburgh. Now, one major sighting in the Susquehanna, source of half the fresh water for the bay. When will zebra mussels show up in the river systems and water supplies for cities in the Chesapeake and Mid-Atlantic?
It sounds to me that some of the biggest mechanisms for introducing these things are through boating activities, bait wells, and...
In this reservoir, Terlizzi is checking on settlement plates designed to detect the first zebra mussels to invade the region.
We can state, I think unequivocally, that the lower salinity portions of tributaries of the Chesapeake Bay that have adequate calcium levels and adequate phytoplankton are very likely to have zebra mussels become established. There's nothing about the water chemistry in this area that is going to prevent zebra mussels from coming in. And the establishment of those organisms could create serious difficulties.
In the Great Lakes, zebra mussels began clogging pipes, cutting down cooling water for industries and power plants. They closed down the public drinking water for the town of Monroe, Michigan. Zebra mussels alter every ecosystem they invade, crowding out native mussels, filtering out phytoplankton and zooplankton, depleting fundamental food chains for native fish and wildfowl. Zebra mussels could be coming down the Susquehanna, down any of the freshwater rivers that feed the Chesapeake.
There's plenty of algal film on there. But that's, take a little bit closer look with this lens, and I don't see insect cases, and looks like some small worms and so forth. These plates are a little bit cleaner, but I don't see any
they were the
indication
ones
of
that
zebra
they
mussel. Just
take
sample
per
recently.
week.
But there's
Yeah, well,
nothing on there
I
that-
couldn't feel anything on a.
Nah.
Yes.
Well, it
I'm
looks like
understanding that too.
looks like we may have been spared this year. One more year without them, I guess. At least here in
Let's
Brooklyn.
hope.
It's inevitable, and it's probably fairly soon. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if somebody didn't turn over a stone even this fall and say, "Good grief," you know, and there they were.
No invasion by land, not yet.
Who's trying to relax you?
But for the Chesapeake, a slow, steady flow of aliens from the sea. Animals and plants are offloading here every day. And according to the early estimates of Greg Ruiz, some are surviving in the bay.
My guess is that we've seen something on the order of 15 to 20 species that are not native.
Oysters and blue crabs and rockfish are native to these waters. But living alongside them, a clam from Asia, a seagrass from Eurasia, a shore crab from Japan, and riding here in the ballast tanks of the Texas, how many more?
Yeah, of course you think about it, you know, but you don't know what's. We really don't know what's in there, you know. But for sure it's something.
We in the Chesapeake have invested a great deal of time and money to restore water quality. And the reason that we're doing that is to restore the living resources. That's our bottom line, a healthy, rigorous population of fish and shellfish, crabs, oysters, etc.
Miss Ann Swanson, Executive Director, Chesapeake Bay Commission.
Ballast is recognized as a critical issue that can only be acted upon successfully at the federal level. For us, it's a serious possibility of invasion. These species that could be introduced via ballast water could do the very thing that the zebra mussel has done to the Great Lakes or the comb jelly has done to the Black Sea. It can decimate a fishery that's vital to the economy and the ecology of the region. This is a global issue that requires full cooperation from all the countries engaged in shipping.
Many coastal states are asking Congress to keep foreign ballast out of American ecosystems. A few countries have already taken action.
Every time before we reach New Zealand or Australia, we have to change the ballast water in open sea. We have to get out the old water.
Many ship companies now unload their coastal ballast water and their coastal life forms in mid-ocean. Then reload with cleaner ocean water.
That's a regulation for Australia and New Zealand.
No aliens will be offloading in Baltimore from the motor vessel Texas. No green crabs from Europe, no zebra mussels from the Black Sea.
There could be something in that water, you know. So we try to avoid it. If it's not necessary, we don't touch any ballast water in ports.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. It was a pleasure. Thanks for your hospitality.
That is the policy for the Wilhelmsen lines, but a voluntary policy. But other ships keep bringing ballast to Baltimore every day.
There is no control over the ships as to where they do take on the ballast water. It's a gamble as to the cleanliness of the water that is put into the ballast tank of any vessel.
According to latest estimates, more than 100 alien species are now living in Chesapeake Bay.
If, while we're trying to restore this water quality, an invasion of an exotic species upsets the equilibrium and causes the demise of living resources, or a important living resource, then where are we?
the control of the ballast water. You know, I'm not a scientist, so I can't tell you how to control it or how big of a problem it is or how much of a job it is to control it, but it's something that has to be looked at, and we'll look at the problems that it's causing us. The town puts a price or a bounty on these crabs. And last year we got paid 40 cents a pound. It's part of a predator control program to try an experiment of removing green crabs. See what I do at the bottom? Remind them crabs what we're protecting. As a bounty hunter, I go out, I catch the crabs, I bring them to my house, I weigh them up, I tag them, and then once a week I submit a voucher to the town treasurer, and they pay me. It's not a normal cycle of things that we're having, because we don't know what is indigenous and what isn't. I mean, you know, I've been killing this green crab for 2 years and seeing him around. I didn't know he didn't belong here. There they are, little critters. Listen to them. Wiggle around.